Hi, welcome to The Sacred Journey. The Sacred Journey is the program that reminds you that life is a wonderful adventure and each and every experience we have is a unique and perfect opportunity for learning. I'm Joyce St. Germain, and I'm sure that you recognize my dear friend, Rochelle Ripley. We just completed a show and we had so much more to talk about. I invited her back and she was willing to push that button again and do another show. Now, we talk so much about hawkwing. You've probably been my guest more than any other guest or any other organization because there's so much. There's so much. In our last show, we talked an overview about who we are, what we do. And let's get into some specifics this time, Rochelle. I want to let people know that your work has not gone unrecognized. And I know you're very humble. You don't do it for the recognition. But in 2015, you were named a CNN Top 10 Hero. I think that speaks to the level of dedication, commitment, organization, and effectiveness. So I'd like to, if we could, cover the effects COVID has had on the reservation, our relationship with Amazon and donations, a water project that we're working on, volunteer situations, requests, donations, and anything else you want to add to that mix.
That should fill up our time. Well, I'm going to start with COVID because certainly this has been a life-changing circumstance across the world for everyone.
Right.
And as with any other crisis, when you are in poverty and have limited resources, it hits even harder because you may not have that computer to stay connected to the world or whatever it may be. Obviously, the reservation got hit with COVID along with Hawkwing and the world. We were all united in misery, and that's not the way we want to be united. And they have what's called basically a walk-in clinic that serves the reservation the size of the state of Connecticut. So if you think about that, I mean, here where I live, there's probably 5 walk-in clinics alone, not to mention private doctor offices right here in our community. So what happened when they realized how bad it was going to get, the federal government, which funds the walk-in clinic, they call it a hospital, but there's only 2 beds that are temporary to get them to another facility. They actually opened up a wing, the government, Indian Health Services, and they had 12 beds. Now, you couldn't stay there if you needed intubation. They would send you off to one of the other cities that had more complex services. But if you could be maintained without intubation, then you could be potentially stay there. But there were 12 beds, about 10,000 people on the reservation. They did better than some communities, but they still took a great deal of loss during COVID. And as all of us know, we don't know what the long-term effects of COVID are going to be. And we know some of them may be lifelong disabilities that come as a result of it, even when you survive the initial problem. So we couldn't go out. It was heartbreaking to me. I have been adopted by a very wonderful family out there to be part of their family in a traditional Lakota way. And so I haven't been able to see my sister out there, and my sister is she's much older than I am, and I'm already in my 70s. So that, that's really breaking my heart because I really want to go and see her, but it's just not, it's not advised to do it at this point.
Yeah. And let's point out, Rochelle, sorry to interrupt, that
No.
COVID is on top of a lot of other health issues and concerns for the majority of the people there. It's not like there's an occasional illness or issue. It's a community that's challenged by health issues, and then COVID on top of that.
Right. 1 in 4 adults has insulin-dependent diabetes, which is way above all the national averages. And part of that is because the biology of indigenous people in America was to eat meat. That was, the buffalo and occasionally some vegetables to go along with it. But the main diet was meat, and that is not as viable. And of course, the processed foods are everywhere because they're cheap and it fills you up. So those are among the heart attacks, cancer, all of those issues are beyond national numbers. So you're more vulnerable. And then on top of that, it was very difficult to get people to be vaccinated because of the history of smallpox blankets and other things. Trusting the government to inject them was something that they really had to be gently led to do that. And the tribe did a wonderful job. They did everything they could to give incentives to get people in with their kids and get them vaccinated. So it's more challenging than it is in a regular situation that we find ourselves in a non-Indigenous place.
And they asked for people not to come to the res, not to pass through, not to come, just for them to try to keep their community together. And let's not forget to mention that the land there is not suitable nor easy for farming. So as far as being able to grow vegetables and produce and things like that.
Correct. It's prairie land, and they call it, the soil is like gnarled. It's like woven together. So it's very hard to plant. There are some things that can grow, but really it is very, very difficult. So some people have little small garden plots that they work hard to maintain, but that's why we hope to have the greenhouses out there by the beginning of next spring, so that they will extend the season, start the seedlings inside, and then even if they do them in containers, they'll be able to have more immediate fresh fruits and vegetables available. So COVID also hit Hawkwing because we had to lay off staff, and we were out of work for, I think it was 15 months. So we really were reliant on our volunteers, who we have the most wonderful volunteers with Hawkwing, who stepped in and made that truck go out in December of last year so that the children had their holiday gifts. And this will be the 23rd year of providing the holidays for the kids on the res, which blows my mind.
Amazing. Wow.
It is amazing. And the thing that was really neat when we switched to distribution through the schools rather than individual families picking up their boxes, one of the schools called me and said it was the most delightful thing that they had done all year, because the older kids, most of the schools are K to 12 out there. The older kids in the high school asked if they could participate in the distribution of the toys to the little kids. And they dressed up like elves and Santas on their own. They did this. And they said they loved what they got, but they loved that they were able to do this for the kids. And that just filled my heart in a way I can't even begin to tell you. It was wonderful. So COVID, and we know COVID isn't over. We know there's more variants coming, and people still need to be very cautious. You were right, Joyce. They actually shut the main highway that goes into the reservation down. They manned all points coming in, and they tested. If you didn't have actual business on the reservation, they diverted you, which was about a 4-hour diversion. They wouldn't let you go through. The state of South Dakota went after them for that, because it's a state highway, but they said, sorry, this is treaty land, and we're not letting people come on here just to make a shortcut through the reservation. So they managed it the best they could. And I was really, really happy to see that, they've been able to do it. Their schools were closed, of course, for a period of time as well.
Did they do remote? Were they able to do remote? Or I know a lot of families don't have internet or computers or access to them.
They actually got tablets for all the kids. And because there's not internet in the outer districts, they drove dilapidated cars and set up a mobile unit so that the kids could, it was really remarkable. So the kids could get online and do their work. In some of the areas that were really remote, the school was making dittos of everything and bringing it out to their homes on Monday, and then they would pick it up on Friday. They would also bring them their lunches so that they had those, because they rely a lot on the school lunch program. So that continued, but there was no access into the school itself.
Has the lunch program been affected? Because I remember hearing that children get the majority of their meals through the school. So when the schools are closed, they may have no food.
Correct. That's why the schools went ahead and prepared all the lunches and had them delivered out to all the families so that the kids had it. And they added extras so that if there were other children in there, or if there was an elder in there, that they could have the extra food at the same time.
Because I remember hearing, and it struck me as a lifelong school teacher, that some kids didn't have a meal from Friday when they left school till Monday when they came back to
for
school.
breakfast. Yeah. And that has been improved. So that's a very good.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
So some bad things happened in COVID, but some things changed because of COVID that are improvements, which is great. That's what we want to see.
Okay, so that I'm checking my clock here.
Yeah.
Let's hit up the water project now. That's so very, very exciting. I want to be sure that people might even be able to find out how to contribute or be a part of that in some way.
So we had one of our board members has a relative who called her up one day, not knowing she was on a Native American board of directors, and said, I'd really like to do something for clean water with an Indian reservation. He said, but I don't know where to start. I mean, I don't know who is reliable, and she started laughing and she said, well, I'm on the board of a Native American. And so it was born. And he's a wonderful man, and all he wants to do is do good. Now, the water in the reservation comes from the Missouri River. It travels 200 miles to get to the reservation through pipes that are now 70 years old. The pipes break on a regular basis. I'm talking about the main trunk line.
Okay.
And some people still do not have running water. They have what's called water buffaloes, which are giant tanks that are outside their houses, and they are manually filled. Like your oil delivery would come to your house. There's a water delivery that fills up the water buffalo. And then some people have plumbing and some people don't from those water buffaloes. So again, the improvement is they have a truck now that can deliver the water, which they didn't have before. But the quality of the water is very questionable. And the US government, through the Army Corps of Engineers, who is supposed to maintain this, said 6 years ago that they were going to replace the main line, that they had to. And it's not done. I mean, part of COVID was part of that, but it was before COVID as well. So this wonderful donor said, I'd like to fund doing something to get clean water. And what we've all agreed to, tribal and us, is to fund high-level filtration filters in the homes of the families, so that the water coming out for drinking and cooking is clean and safe. And safe. And with the levels, I mean, there was not uranium. There was mining taking place, and I believe one spot actually had uranium mining from the old days. And so the water was contaminated. So that's what we're moving forward on. We have a new chairman that was just elected, and I figure I'll give him a couple hours to get settled in before I call him. But I know he's in favor of it, and I think the outgoing chairman was in favor of it all, but we got to get it formalized. And once that's done, we will start. We have 20 families already selected for the trial, so we can make sure we work all the kinks out before it goes reservation wide. And it will include replacing their filters annually so that the water filtration continues to go well. People are very excited about it. They understand that their water isn't the best. And people with good water systems put filtration in because it adds to the quality of their water. So we're really excited. We wanted to get it started before the winter set in. Unfortunately, the winter got in ahead of us. So it will start in the late winter, early spring. And as soon as we know we've got the system down well, then we're going to expand it reservation wide. And we're really excited about it. It's going to improve health.
Yeah. And I remember hearing my first year out there that there were a lot of open uranium holes from all the mining, which contaminated the water, and the cancer rates are sky high there. We didn't brush our teeth in the water. We didn't drink it. We showered as quickly as we could. And these are people that have no options or choices. So this is such a godsend.
Yeah, so we're really excited about it. If that's something that speaks to your heart as you're listening to this, you can certainly help contribute to that, because we want to be able to make sure that that water system is not only done, but maintained and has fresh filters every year. So the families, because they won't be able to afford the filters. So we're going to be able to do that for them.
So we'll make sure that the contact info for Hawkwing is shared with everyone on the screen, and my website's always shared, and I will find somebody who's got better technology skills than myself.
Or myself.
And put a direct link from my site to yours, so that we'll be able to make more easily make contributions.
And just as an aside, Joyce, when we both say we're not that good on technology, we spent a half hour trying to get sound on as we were recording.
I don't want to break the news to you, Rochelle, my dear. It was 50 minutes that we spent. figure out the sound and the visuals. There were lots of quirks today.
But we're here.
We are. Tell me about your Amazon relationship. That's been
Okay,
exciting.
so there is this wonderful organization called Good 360, Good 360, and it's a program of United Way of America. And they started to be able to become a warehousing filter for corporate donations of product. So in the beginning, they had a little catalog, and we could go on and say, oh, we need Barbie dolls for Christmas, and we could order in bulk for the cost of shipping it to us. So obviously the prices were very low. They still maintain that. That was their original program, but they've expanded into other capacities. Like when we got the beds for elders through Tempur-Pedic, that was their truckload program, where you're paying for the shipping, but the beds are free, which is just amazing. And so we've taken good advantage of Good 360 all this time, and we've been a good client. So when they got this new program to get started, we were one of 3 nationwide that was called to be offered it first. And what it is that Amazon donates to us all their new overstock. And I emphasize new because the last thing we have time to do is to sort through old things and see what the quality is. And a lot of it is household, some of it's electronics, some of it is, well, occasionally food. Often that's not something we can do because we only ship once or twice a year, so it would expire in the interim. There's clothing, there's toys, there's all kinds of household things.
Art supplies too.
Oh yes, art supplies. I mean, it's just kind of anything you can order from Amazon that they haven't sold and it's new overstock comes to us. And we have a lot of work around it. So if there's volunteers out there that want to help, and if there's somebody with a box, a 24-foot box truck that would be willing to go to Amazon and do pickups for us once a month, we get 12 pallets a month. And
Amazon in Connecticut, not far away Amazon.
Correct, in Windsor, Connecticut, right past Hartford. Each pallet has 20 boxes on it, the big Amazon boxes. And we sort, we sometimes we donate locally. If it's things that we know the reservation isn't going to use, then we donate it locally to families here who need help. But we also, send a good deal of it out to the reservation. And we do these things called pop-ups. And what pop-ups are is we arrange with a group, a church, a school, or whatever. We're doing one with the Hartford Police, where they set up a day and they help come and take the sorted boxes. Somebody from Hawkwing is always there, and families are notified, and they come, and we have all the boxes opened on the lawn, and people just go through and take what they need. And there's nothing left at the end of the day. So that's what
wonderful.
It is wonderful. That's what they're going to be doing on the reservation this winter. When we ship, we're shipping on November 19. When we ship, they will have the children's gifts, of course, on board. And then they will also have the boxes, the pre-sorted boxes, so that they can invite all the families into the school and they can do their happy shopping for free at the same time as the kids are getting their gifts. So it's an exciting program. We now have Aldi's food stores that has picked us up, and once a month they call us. It's not food, it's the household.
Yeah, they have a great
center of Aldi's. Yes. So as we're speaking and taping this, we have a volunteer who's gone up to Aldi's and is picking up 400 rugs.
Oh my goodness.
And we're going to actually give those to the high school kids so they can take it home and decorate their room and keep their bedroom warm.
Very, very nice. Because, we say, well, we have hardwood floors, but we have hardwood floors that are insulated. There are not winds that are outrageous and 30 below.
Yep.
Wind chill factors coming through where you can see light through them. So when we say, we have wood floors, they have wood floors that are deteriorating. And so to have a rug to put in there, how wonderful. And I am throwing this out now to all my viewers. I think I've been doing this show since 1995. I'm not going to do the math on that. The longest running show through Nutmeg Television. And I am asking, I won't get to the begging part. Usually Rochelle's better at that.
I beg.
I am asking you to please consider volunteering to help pack boxes, move boxes. But don't just show up, contact Rochelle or myself. If you have a scout group, if you have a book club, if you just want to teach your kids how to give back, how to be responsible, how to be members of a thriving community, how to just care and be supportive. We really need help. A lot of our board members are getting older. We have physical limitations, and there's not enough of us. So I am asking if there is any way possible that you would and are able to do this kind of work, to contact me or Rochelle. So I had to throw that out there, Rochelle. And as always, because it's a group that provides so much, monetary donations are always, always needed. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, one of the things I want to say is that we only have 2 staff people, myself and Jennifer. That's our staff. And we're running $1 million plus agency because the donations from Amazon top out at about $800,000 a year alone. There's not a lot of nonprofits that can say that. And I can assure you that my $16,000 a year salary is not breaking anybody's bank, maybe mine. So we're moderately to low pay, by in my case, my choice. And your dollars really go directly to the services, to the programs. As Joyce said earlier, our volunteers that go out to the res when it reopens and we're able to do that, they pay their own way out, their hotel out, their food out. It doesn't come out of Hawkwing. So your dollars really do go directly to the services that you're inclined to. And you can designate, if you say, I really am into that food program, I want my dollars to go there, that's great. We have a scholarship fund now that is allowing some of our Native kids to get supplements for their college experience. And we're going to be distributing those. Hopefully at the end of this current school year, we'll start distributing that. You can donate to that, the water project, the food project, general programs that allow us to get the toys at Christmas time and to get clothing. We have tons of elders who knit for us, and we have these gorgeous baby items and blankets and lap robes, and those go out to the appropriate programs. So the elders program get the lap robes, and the infant toddler program gets all the baby stuff. So we're really pretty well organized in terms of getting the services directly to the people who need those.
Fantastic. We have a couple of minutes left, and I want to be sure that we don't overlook anything and go, oh darn, you know what, we forgot to mention.
Well, we talked a little bit before, and I'm trying to remember if there's something that we haven't covered at this point. I guess I can say a little bit more about the Lakota people.
Oh, please.
Okay, so we're known by the non-Native community as the Sioux, S-I-O-U-X, but Sioux is not our real name. Our name is Lakota, and the Lakota people are part of the original Lakota Nation. There were 7 sacred tribes of the Lakota Nation, and 4 of those are now considered bands because in the historic record, many of our tribes were demolished almost to the point of complete annihilation. So the government decided rather than have 4 separate reservations for the Blackfoot, the Sanzark, and the 4 that make up our current tribe, they combined us. But we still operate as 4 bands within the tribe. And then there's Rosebud and Pine Ridge, which many of you have heard of. Standing Rock, you've probably all heard of because of the battle at Standing Rock, which I was blessed to be able to be there for a period of that, because we didn't want the oil pipe coming through our only source of water. We prefer Lakota. Lakota in our language means the people of peace. Friends, Kota is friend, so it's the nation of friends, where Sioux was meant as a slang term given to us that meant snake in the grass or an enemy. No one's going to get upset if you say Sioux, because even the tribe has that on their website because of the federal. Yeah, but we like Lakota better because it is who we are. The Lakota people have a long and rich history. They survived the incredible massacres that occurred both at Wounded Knee and Sand Creek and on and on and on. And yet they've come away with a love of people, faith in people, proud of their traditions, proud of their survival, and they're moving their young people forward. Our new chairman is in his mid-30s, and that's exciting to me because he will learn and guide the younger people, and they need to hear that. His grandmother was an incredible woman. I was blessed to know her. Marcella LeBeau, and she died at 102 2 years ago. And I was at a council meeting. She asked me to sit with her at the council meeting. And it was the first time our new chairman was on the tribal council. He'd been elected. And she grabbed my hand and she said, "I'm so proud of him." So he's going into this position. And I only wish his grandmother could actually see him take that oath of office. But they're very, very dedicated. Native Americans serve in the largest percentage of any ethnic group in the military. And you must serve honorably, or you're not allowed to be honored for your service. So, I actually argued with a veteran my first trip out. Well, didn't argue with him, but I questioned him. I said, "I don't understand. Why do our people go into the military when what the military did to us in our historic, 100 years ago?" And he said, "Because this is our land. And we will protect our land and all peoples who live on these lands, because that's our responsibility."
Okay.
I was very humbled. So
That-
that just gives you a little background on who our people are. Our children are beloved. The name for child in Lakota is Wakan Yeja, which means sacred being. And it's a very close bond between the Unchis, the grandmas, and the Tunkashlas, the grandfather, or Lalas, as the kids call them. Tunkashlas, a big mouthful, and the grandchildren. And they teach them, they carry on the traditions, they teach the language in all of the schools so that the language will remain a living language. So there's a lot to be proud of, but there's a lot of need. And
my timer just made a noise because we've gone a little over. So,
okay, well,
but we could listen forever. Thank you so much. And thank you, viewers, for joining us on the Sacred Journey. We'll catch you next time.
take care.
The water's warm at Jaws Pond, and we're stocked full of treasures. Big or small, we buy it all. We buy and sell fast rides, power tools, vintage guitars, and so much more. Walk the plank in style with our fine jewelry, diamonds, and watches. Plus, we have a huge selection of the latest video games, including the new PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Jaws Pond, conveniently located on Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington and West Main Street in New Britain.